you haven't shared this video right now, go share it on all your social media, because this is fire, what we're about to show you. I'm telling you, this will make you laugh, make you get mad, but it'll motivate you. So we're going to see, Rick Green's going to have something to say about this. So the question of the day is, what is USAID? I know you're wondering. I was. Watch.
Now USAID is, a very notorious. It's sort of a switch player. There's no aid in USAID, by the way. That's, your brain is being tricked when you see the phrase USAID. It's not an aid organization. The aid in USAID stands for U.S. Agency for International Development. It is developing internationally around the world all of the institutions that the State Department needs to use. So when they are capacity building activist groups in a foreign country, that's because the State Department wants those activists there. Now, USAID, for the first time in its history, it was created in the early 1960s by JFK, 1961. It was created because you had all of this intelligence, statecraft, and military support and logistical aid that was tripping over itself, basically. The military would be funding, would be running aid to certain groups in the region. The State Department would be running aid to certain groups in the region. The intelligence community would, and there was no sort of central coordinator of those capacity building operations. So USAID, by the way, is a $50 billion budget. The entirety of the intelligence community is only $72 billion. So it is more than the CIA and more than the State Department.
Wow.
And aid is basically, USAID is effectively a switch player to assist the Pentagon with on the national security front, to assist the State Department on the national interest front, or to assist the intelligence community on a sort of clandestine operations front.
$50 billion. Billion. Ed, this is crazy.
I mean, this is one of the things I just love seeing out of this whole scenario. By the way, some of our amazing FlashPoint Army viewers are commenting about my plant that, if you remember 2 weeks ago, I said I had to get, because Rick had made fun of my, wisdom pyramid back here. He said it looked like a poop emoji. And I said 2 weeks ago, I said it would be amazing if this plant lasted 2 weeks. And look how wonderful. I mean, it doesn't look great, I'll be honest with you. Apparently, you're supposed to water it. So thank you. On these shows, I expect sometimes to share information. Today, I learned something. So I will be putting water into this plant and making it better. By the way, speaking of plants, right outside of my office here in my front yard, we have these beautiful rose bushes. My wife is actually quite good with plants. I'm not very good at all, as you can see. She's amazing. But every January, I go out there and look at our amazing rose bushes, and they're nothing. They're literally like a stump. And I talk to my wife. I'm like, did you kill them? Did you kill the roses? And every March or April, the roses come back out better and more beautiful. And that's called pruning. And pruning is a natural part of the plant keeping process, apparently, according to my amazing wife, who knows a lot more about plants than I do. And pruning is an important part of a governmental process too. Now, I know we haven't done that for a really long time. Pruning typically only happens in the government environment when the economy completely crashes and the government runs out of money. But our government has just been kicking the can, down the street for about the last 100 years or so. Frankly, ever since the 16th Amendment, which I think was 1913, and they started taxing us. Check it out, 1%. 1%. That was the first tax. I think Rick could tell you a little bit more about the history of that. What we're doing now is pruning. And the first step to pruning governmentally is just simply bringing things out into the light. A $15 million transgender bathroom in Somalia, a comic book, in Denmark, designed to enlighten students about transgenderism. That all came from our USAID or similar things like it. And right now we're just seeing this wonderful pruning where we start to see things come to light. People go, wait a second, that's where my money's starting to go. And then enfolding that organization into what it looks like into the State Department. What is brilliantly happening right now is we're seeing all of a sudden the reaction from the left. Apparently the money train is run out, and sort of the typical cast of characters, Congressman Raskin, Congresswoman AOC, like all these people who apparently are benefited one way or another. So this is just a wonderful development, the idea of bringing this to the light and bringing it to the surface. And I think we should have a lot more of it in the next few months.
All this And more gardening tips are available at edrush.com. I didn't know where you were going with that, but you pulled it out. You pulled it back around. Let me show you this. This is what happened over the weekend.
I just really wanted to talk about that plant that Rick
I could
had
tell.
me get.
I could tell. All right, Associated Press. Let me show you this. USAID security chiefs placed on leave after they refused to turn over classified material to Elon Musk's government inspection teams, officials say. Okay. Here's the thing. There's plenty of people you may not like in government, but once someone's been appointed to do something by the president, he's been empowered to do that. You just don't say, no, we're not going to, no, we're not going to give you stuff. We're not going to give you stuff. In fact, here's Secretary of State Marco Rubio to explain just a little bit more. Watch.
Well, look, I mean, my frustration with USAID goes back to my time in Congress. It's a completely unresponsive agency. It's supposed to respond to policy directives of the State Department, and it refuses to do so. So the functions of USAID, there are a lot of functions of USAID that are going to continue, that are going to be part of American foreign policy, but it has to be aligned with American foreign policy. I said very clearly during my confirmation hearing that every dollar we spend and every program we fund, that will be aligned with the national interest of the United States. And USAID has a history of sort of ignoring that and deciding that they're somehow a global charity separate from the national interest. These are taxpayer dollars. And so I'm very troubled by these reports that they've been unwilling to cooperate with people who are asking simple questions about what does this program do, who gets the money, who are our contractors, who's funded, and that sort of level of insubordination makes it impossible to conduct a sort of mature and serious review that I think foreign aid writ large should have. We're spending taxpayer money here. These are not donor dollars. These are taxpayer dollars, and we owe the American people the assurances that every dollar we are spending abroad is being spent on something that furthers our national interest. And so far, a lot of the people that work at USAID have just simply refused to cooperate.
Are you currently in charge of USAID? Or are you
I'm the acting director of USAID. I've delegated that authority to someone, but I stay in touch with him. And again, our goal was to go in and align our foreign aid to the national interest.
Again, Rick, $50 billion, $50 billion of our dollars. Think of all the things we could have done here at home as opposed to what they were doing, whatever they were doing with it. And I'm going to go down some examples, so don't quote examples. But, Rick, I want to help break this down for the FlashPoint Army so they can really get what it was.
And unaccountable as well, right? Because you heard Senator Rubio say it. Senator Cruz has said the same thing. Senator Paul, others. We can't get answers from these people. We're in charge as the members of Congress to know where these dollars are going, and we can't ever seem to get answers from them. Gene, I have to point out the quality of your guests. I mean, when you have a guy like Ed that can actually take a dying plant, compliment his wife, and segue into the topic that you actually asked him about. I mean, come on, people. That's impressive. I mean, you don't ever see that on CNN or anywhere else.
Show.
I mean, incredible.
Long form.
Yeah.
You just get it.
That's right.
I love it.
But I want to keep his analogy going because I think it's perfect. What happens when you don't prune and it goes wild? It goes completely wild. These agencies have gone wild. There's been no one trimming them back. There's been no one holding them accountable. And it's created a situation where we've actually lost credibility in the world because of the things that we funded and the things that we've created to undermine other governments. So I think this is so good. Last thing I'll say to all of this, the beauty of Donald Trump's ability to just stick it in the face of the people that have been trying to destroy America. Tulsi Gabbard, in charge of the very agency that investigated her. RFK, going to be in charge of the very agency that called him a conspiracy theorist and all these other crazy things. Marco Rubio, in charge of the agency that refused to give him the answers that he was supposed to get. The list goes on and on and on. It's a beautiful thing to watch. It's not going to all happen overnight. Boy, it sure feels like it is. But these kind of things, again, are going to take longer. But I think what Rubio said is important. The important things that it's doing that we do need it to do for the State Department and for our nation can still be done. But back to what Ed said, with the light of day, with the the sunlight's the best disinfectant, as Bill Bennett said, and I have weird things going on my TV. Anyway, good stuff happening.
Yeah, it is. In fact, I'm going to go to you, Nate, because Rick's going to have to reboot his whole television set over there. Look at this is Caroline Leavitt this weekend, and then we're going to start. I'm going to give you some really great examples, or make you cry. Watch this.
And here's the reason why Elon Musk and others have been taking a look, because if you look at the waste and abuse that has run through USAID over the past several years, these are some of the insane priorities that organization has been spending money on. $1.5 million to advance DEI in Serbia's workplaces, $70,000 for a production of a DEI musical in Ireland, $47,000 for a transgender opera in Colombia, $32,000 for a transgender comic book in Peru. I don't know about you, but as an American taxpayer, I don't want my dollars going towards this crap, and I know the American people don't either, and that's exactly what Elon Musk has been tasked by President Trump to do, to get the fraud, waste, and abuse out of our federal government. Thank you, guys.
All right, Nate, she's already learned how to walk off when she's done. These examples, when you start knocking on what people have been doing, you talk about pulling back the covers, pulling back the curtains, and exposing the light to your plant that's gone wild. See what I did there? And when we start seeing the light of what really has been happening, that makes a lot of people in government nervous there, Nate. What do you think?
Well, it's not just on the federal level, but it's on the state level as well. Look, I don't know that Texas is funding transgender operas over here, but at the end of the day, what we are funding is unbelievable things that the people of Texas never voted for us to fund. I'll give you an example. We have DEI initiatives still going on in our public universities to this day, and they're being funded by taxpayer dollars. We've got lobbyists that are working directly against your interests that are funded right now, and we can't seem to ban taxpayer-funded lobbying. Look, this is at every level of government. One of the most important things we could do is this DOGE committee to be able to audit these things and say, hey, not only did the American people not know that we're spending this money, but I think it's important that the entire world knows that we're spending this money. I think it's important that our government officials, I don't even think Congress knew we were spending this money, because it's been far too long where we've had no accountability. Imagine what we could do taking down our debt inside of our nation if we just simply knew line item by line item, where is our money going? Imagine what type of taxes we could cut. Imagine what we could do with property taxes. It's insane.
Oh, now you're talking. I re-elect Nate Schatzline right now. Okay, let me go through. I want to show you some of these. Are you ready? You ready? Okay, here we go. USAID has awarded $969,821 to Stephen Leonelli, Washington, D.C., for supporting development, democracy, and innovation, inclusive development hub programs protecting the human rights of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and intersex individuals. I'm not sure how they got to that number, but I don't agree with it. Here's another one. $1,999,900. This was in 24. Purpose, strengthen trans-led organizations to deliver gender-affirming health care. Imagine if they did that for health care for the rest of us. Advocate for improved quality, access to services, provide economic empowerment and opportunities, and it's in Guatemala. What happened to America First? It's in Guatemala. All right, let's keep going. DOGE post, USAID spends $40 billion of taxpayer dollars, I'm getting excited, to fund foreign aid, $45 million for DEI scholarships in Burma. Who are these people? $520 million for consultant-driven ESG investments in Africa. Now that's a real winner. I'm trying to figure that one out. $1.2 billion in awards to undisclosed recipients. Ooh. Oh. That was from usaspending.gov. And if that wasn't bad enough, it just keeps going. USAID tells teachers to hide students' gender identity from their parents. Americans billed $27 million to fund reintegration gift bags for deported Central Americans. Excuse me, wait a minute. Reintegration gift bags for deported Central Americans. This is like, it's like a parting gifts, thank you for coming. Here's your parting gift as you leave. U.S. wasted $160 million to improve Afghanistan's corrupt customs payment system. Really? And as if that's not enough, the Biden administration authorized $20 million for the creation of Sesame Street in Iraq to promote inclusion. That's the one right there, Rick Green. That's what it's all about. Sesame Street promoting inclusion. I'm not done, but I'll give you a break. Go ahead.
Yeah, hey, they're giving money to Rockefeller Institute. They're giving money to pro-Hamas organizations. So a lot of this stuff that we've watched happen even in our streets. So, everything you gave, it's supposed to all be foreign, right? Forget it. No, they're doing it here. They're funding these organizations that are actually undermining the pro-America agenda, even here in our country. And that's our money. So it's like you said, Gene, we're literally having our money taken from us to support and grow these things that are exactly the opposite of our values, and ultimately to undermine the greatness of our country. That's why the American people were so angry last year. A lot of the dates on the things that you just showed, January of last year, summer of 2023. So people were beginning to learn these things, and it was really invigorating the American people to get involved. And now the books are being opened, and we're getting the whole list. And I think it's just going to create more momentum, to Nate's point, not only at the federal level, but at the state, the local level. I encourage every public servant in the country, if you've been elected and you consider yourself a patriot, a Constitution-loving, God-fearing, lover of America, then you start looking for how you can do in your office, whether it's state or local or wherever you are, exactly what Donald Trump's doing in Washington, D.C. If we do that all the way down the line, guys, man, we're looking at a true revolution that's going to last for a generation.
All right. Now, this is the part that'll just make you mad. Let me show you this from Rand Paul. Watch.
Ms. Powers, did USAID fund coronavirus research in Wuhan, China?
We did not fund gain-of-function research,
That's not the question.
As you know.
The question is, did you fund coronavirus research in Wuhan, China?
Before my time, there was the PREDICT program with which you're familiar, which ended in China in 2019.
Yeah, this is a $200 million program, and the GAO has also identified that some of these grants went directly to the Wuhan Institute of Virology, where there is a suspicion that the lab leak began the pandemic. Has USAID awarded funds to the Academy of Military Medical Sciences in China?
Not to my knowledge, but I'd have to give.
I think the answer is once again yes. GAO has found that there have been subawards of NIH money, as probably as well as USAID money, that went to the Academy of not just medical research, military medical research in China. Now, part of the unknowns here is we can't get the records to look at this. So I've been asking for months and months for records. In September of last year, I wrote Ms. Powers, USAID, a request asking for records from the PREDICT program. These are not classified. These are simply records of scientific research, and we want to read the grants to find out what they were doing and whether the research was dangerous or not. The response I got from your agency was USAID will not be providing any documents at this time. They're just unwilling to give documents on scientific grant proposal. We're paying for it. They're asking for $745 million more in money, and we get no response.
And it just goes on and on and on. Ed, what do you think so far? I got more, but go ahead. I'll give you a comment.
Amen. We've got, I don't know if this is credible or not, but I seen on X today that apparently part of the funding was going to the person who was literally COVID patient zero. Even if that's not true, this is unbelievable. And the fact that it's been hidden for so long, all I can say is thank God it's coming to light. Like Rick said, the sunlight is a wonderful disinfectant. So it's just good to see all this coming out. It's going to be a fun month to watch all this go.
Well, let me answer that question for you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here it is. Through USAID, Fauci's NIAID sent over $40 million in U.S. taxpayer support, that's you and me, to a scientist in Wuhan who was working on bat coronavirus emergence research, who, by the way, also became patient zero for COVID-19. There it is. So, let me show you this. Breaking, the conspiracy theorists were actually right. Elon Musk just confirmed used U.S. taxpayer money to fund COVID-19. Okay, you could stop right there and that should be enough. But no, let's just keep going. This also confirms why Joe Biden, watch this, he chose the year 2014 for the Anthony Fauci pardon. Remember when he did that? Why would he go all the way back to 2014? Because that's when Barack Obama and Fauci took over the Ukraine biolabs and started working on bioweapons. Crimes against humanity can't be pardoned. 2014 was also the year the CIA took over the Ukraine government under U.S. supervision. Ukraine fell into civil war in February 2014. It's really all connected. Tucker was talking about Ukraine biolabs. What are they doing with the pathogens in those biolabs? So that's like the scariest thing that's ever happened, the potential to destabilize the world more than anything that's happened in my lifetime. Democrats have been involved in Ukraine biolabs since the CIA overthrew the Ukraine government. The whole reason Ukraine was chosen for the war, it's the reason why Anthony Fauci was pardoned back in 2014. The date matched perfectly. You go, oh, well, Gene, come on. I'm going to do my Lance impression. Gene, I need to see some I need to see some proof here. Well, I've got that for you. Here we go. This is current pending support. Look at this. Let's go down the list if you can see it. NIAID, $3,586,760,000. The Eco Health Alliance and International Field and Lab Locations, that's 2019 to 24. Skip down here to the third one there. NIAID, $3,086,735. I wonder where they get these weird numbers. Total award from 6/14 to 5/19. And look at the last one at the bottom of the page. Source of support, the USAID. Total award amount, $38 million. Eco Health Alliance subcontract from UC Davis. That was from October 2014 to September 2019. 2019. Nate, come on. The truth will set you free.
Right, the madness is crazy. We're seeing currently right now in our new rules package under our speaker, we still have mandatory mask mandates in the state of Texas. Look, the woke mind virus took its toll on the U.S. government, and it's taken its toll on society, but America is waking up. The hope is this, is that even those that aren't politically engaged, they're starting to wake up and recognize what happened in 2020. We can never allow that to happen again. And this stuff must be exposed. Look, all I'm saying is, our pastor says it best, we're called to be kind, but we're also called to be kind to savage. And we've got to be kind to savage when we're pointing out the absolute insanity of the left when it comes to this woke mind virus, the actual coronavirus, and all of these things such as mask mandates, vaccine mandates. Look, it's time to let common sense reign again in America, and I'm proud that Donald Trump's doing just that.
So much news is happening. I've asked Mike Garofalo, the Victory News managing editor, to give us an update. Mike?
Gene, President Trump had a number of phone calls today with the leaders of Canada and Mexico after announcing over the weekend that he was implementing a 25% tariff on each country due to not so much because of the trade imbalance with each nation, but rather because of their failure to stop drug trafficking. The point being, as the president's senior counselor for trade and manufacturing, Peter Navarro, said earlier today, this is in fact a drug war, not a trade war.
The Mexican government understands this, that this is a drug war, not a trade war. We have an unprecedented amount of Americans dying every year from fentanyl alone. And it's roughly the same number, about 75,000 annually, that are going to be sitting in the Superdome for the Super Bowl. And it's more by a large margin than the number of soldiers we lost in the Vietnam War. And this happens year after year after year.
Navarro went on to explain China makes the precursor chemicals that are then blended by Mexican drug cartels into deadly fentanyl pills. But they also spike other drugs with fentanyl like heroin and speed, which put the annual number of American deaths per year at more than 100,000.
If Canadian citizens themselves can understand that what we are trying to do here is stop the killing of Americans by these deadly drugs, to stop Canada from allowing terrorists on the watch list, up to 100 have already come in, from entering our country.
The Trump phone calls today with Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum resulted in a 30-day delay in the beginning of tariffs for either country, along with 10,000 Mexican troops being sent to the border. This is what White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt had to say about the matter on Friday.
Both Canada and Mexico have allowed an unprecedented invasion of illegal fentanyl that is killing American citizens and also illegal immigrants into our country.
And just in the last few hours, that second phone call between Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and Donald Trump took place about the tariffs that are set to begin tomorrow, Tuesday. A post from Trudeau after the call said this: "I just had a good call with President Trump. Canada is implementing our $1.3 billion border plan, reinforcing the border with new choppers, technology, and personnel, enhanced coordination with our American partners, and increased resources to stop the flow of fentanyl. Nearly 10,000 frontline personnel are and will be working on protecting the border." A 30-day pause in tariffs like Mexico was also agreed to. As for China, the White House says a phone call between President Trump and leaders in China is expected to take place in the next 24 to 48 hours. And also today, reports out of Mexico say that drug lord Ricardo Gonzalez Soceda, head of Cartel del Noreste, has been arrested in Nuevo Laredo. The arrest happened after Donald Trump's recent calls for Mexico to take out cartel leaders. Gene.
Thanks, Mike. You can always catch Victory News weekdays at 12 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Eastern right here on the Victory channel. Go to govictory.com/Victory News for all the latest information on the news as it happens. And then make sure you watch us at night. All right, let me bring in Nate Schatzline, representative right here in the great state of Texas. Nate, you hear all this with the tariffs. We're going to get into Texas a little bit later because you need to be doing your job down there. But let's talk about, what we're really seeing. You hear all of this happening. Does this strike you odd that all these world leaders are backing down to President Trump so quickly?
No, I think what we're seeing for the first time in a long time is just pure leadership. We've got President Trump for the first time in the last 4 years. We're seeing a president actually do what he said he was going to do and deliver on promises. Also, we're talking about the man who authored The Art of the Deal. And so we're talking about a man who, when he throws out a threat of, hey, we're going to add tariffs and this is going to be bad for your country, we see Canada immediately cave. We also see, and just to be very clear, Trudeau is a beta male to the core. He is going to cave to an alpha male like Trump immediately. And we're going to see something happen to where all of a sudden America is not going to be taken advantage of anymore. This is exactly what needed to happen. This is America First policy at its finest, and we're seeing it happen in real time. It's exciting.
It is exciting. All right, let me bring in Ed Rush. Ed, what do you think? Same question.
What a week. What a week, by the way. I mean, last year, throughout the whole year, right, we were doing shows, and I was thinking, January 2025 is going to settle down. Things are just going to settle down. And this week we got to see, sit, Justin, sit. Good boy. Good boy. That's what it felt like there for about a day. It's just like fascinating to see what happens when you project strength. And what was interesting, too, about this tariff bill was what the words between the words, right? So 25% Canada, 25% Mexico, and 10% China. Now, I would submit to you that the real trade war actually is with China. This tariff with China was not a tariff to get some concession on day one so that we could write that one off. I think it was very clear this first tariff was about the drug trade. By the way, and finally, so personally, I lost two of my siblings to this fentanyl crisis literally in the last 7 years. And it's like, finally, we're getting serious about this. By the way, we were tracking aircraft coming from America, military aircraft now flying over Mexican airspace. This is the first time we've seen this in a while, too. So I think the entire development is very exciting. We've won a few battles now. Certainly haven't won the war, but it's really good to see things moving in the right direction.
It sure is good to see it moving in the right direction indeed. So much is Pastor Hank, let me programming note, Pastor Hank, we gave him the night off. If you did not see the Omaha FlashPoint live Next Level, you should go back and watch it right there on Rumble and catch up with what happened. Man, we had a great time. So he's got the night off. We'll see him again tomorrow night. Let me ask you, in fact, let me show you this. This is J.D. Vance. And, you talk about, Ed, you talk about the projecting the strength that we need. And you said that too, Nate, that what we're seeing with President Trump is so different than what we've been seeing for the last 4 years. It's almost shocking to watch. Now, I have received emails from friends in Canada I don't know, but they decide that they got my email address, and they were emailing me about, we got to be careful, and Canadians are, very, we're very proud people, and I understand that, and so you should be. But this is, President Trump has made the decision to put America first, because that's what the American people did. They did that to make America first. So I think we have to understand that's his job. That's why so many Americans came out to put him in office. Doesn't mean we're going to run roughshod. And I see a lot of the liberals posting, we told you he's going to be a dictator. See, there's a dictator. No, he's just showing strength. He's just showing strength. Well, let me show you someone else showing strength. I just love hearing J.D. Vance. Watch.
It looks different ways and comes in different forms, whether you're talking about Canada or China or Mexico. We know that Mexico has allowed the facilitation of the illegal drug trade and illegal sex trafficking for years and has done nothing about it. If they want to be a better partner to us, the time starts now. We know the Chinese, of course, have stolen American manufacturing jobs for 30, 40 years, and also that they facilitated the trafficking of illegal fentanyl into Mexico, where the drug cartels then bring in into our country. We are sick of being taken advantage of. We still have, thank God, the biggest economy in the entire world, the best people and the best workers, but the message from President Trump to the entire world is very clear. We are done being taken advantage of, and we have a president who looks out for the interests of American citizens. Thank God we do, and we're going to try to do it the best we can.
I love that. Let me bring in our next guest, Rick Green's back. Rick, you heard J.D. Vance, and he's talking about we're tired of being taken advantage of, and I'm just like, finally, there's somebody there that gets the American people. They're going, wait a minute, we knew there was crazy spending, but we had no idea what we're about to unpack tonight. Your thoughts?
Man, it just keeps coming, man. It's better than triple cake, triple chocolate cake with extra, syrup on top. I mean, you put all the good stuff in there. What they're doing is even better than that. And I tell you what's next, Gene. I'm hoping that we won't be taken advantage of by these rogue, wimpy U.S. senators that are doing the, the button-pushing filibuster, where they put a hold on some of Trump's nominees. What a joke. I'm ready for J.D. Vance to walk over there into the Senate, grab that gavel, say, I'm the constitutional president of the Senate. And any of you turkeys that want to try to delay any of these appointments, you better strap on the catheter and be ready to stand and talk just like Mr. Smith goes to Washington. So do your best, Jimmy Stewart. But once you pass out, you're done, and we're running that nominee through. I'm sick of these fake filibusters. It's not even a real filibuster. So anyway, it's both international and national. Everybody knows there's a couple of new sheriffs in town, and I'm not tired of winning yet, but it just seems like not every day. Gene, we've talked about it. It's like every hour. I mean, you just go, whoa, did you see what happened? You got to keep watching your phone just to catch up with all the wins right now.
Yeah, it is staggering what we're seeing. Jason, let's go off format here for just a moment. I know you find that shocking. What Rick just said, it's been amazing to see these nominees. So I want to say this to you, FlashPoint Army. You guys you responded. You did what you were supposed to do. We got on social media. I called for this, and then I called for it again Thursday to call and help tell your senator to push through that you wanted all of President Trump's nominees confirmed. You wanted them confirmed. Well, I believe you showed up. Look, you guys actually did it. And I'm stalling. Okay, here, let me show you this, what happened. What number is that? That's number 29. I've got to read it. The U.S. senators, I can't see it that far, guys. You're going to have to, I don't have that one. The voicemail system is overrun. 600 calls a minute. Did you see that? 600 calls a minute. Nobody can get a call in. And so what happens, I wish Dutch Sheets was on tonight, because I would tell him about his friend there in South Carolina. Lindsey Graham, for some reason, Rick, has decided he's going to vote for RFK and Tulsi and Kash Patel.
I just saw that a couple hours ago. And I was watching that. I was going, Gee, I wonder why. This is one of those deals where they don't see the light till they feel the heat. And Gene, the FlashPoint Army put the heat on. The American people have put the heat on. Donald Trump's putting the heat on, and they are seeing the light one at a time, man. One at a time.
Fact,
We're getting them through.
Just so we can all enjoy it, FlashPoint Army. Here's Senator Lindsey Graham.
Assuming you're a yes on RFK Jr., assuming you're a yes on Kash Patel, what about Tulsi Gabbard?
Yes. Yeah, I'll be yes on her. I was waiting to see what she said about 702. That's the ability to track foreigners overseas who may be involved in plots against the country. I actually served in a reserve unit with Tulsi. I've always liked her. I think a lot of her criticism against her has been really mean and off base, but I'll be a yes now. She's shown her understanding of how vital 702 is. So I'll be a yes on RFK Jr., Tulsi Gabbard, and Kash Patel knocked it out of the park. He's the antidote to Crossfire Hurricane. He's going to go in and clean the FBI out to make sure it's never abused like it was in the past. And Crossfire Hurricane was one of the saddest, most dangerous chapters in FBI history. He's the guy that helped expose it, and he'll be the solution, not the problem, when it comes to the FBI, in my view.
I'm telling you, it's great. I always did like her. I always did like Tulsi Gabbard. Go ahead.
He looks like a hostage. He looks like somebody that just had all their sugar, licked off their lollipop by somebody else because he doesn't get to grandstand. He doesn't get to be the final holdout vote. He had to give in. So he just I'm going to be voting for the. I mean, he just looks so sad that he's going to have to do it. So anyway, I can't help but smile.
All right, Nate, there's something we want to do because everything we've been talking about at the federal level is now coming out at the state level, like what you've been talking about in Texas. But it's not just Texas. Many other states we've briefly touched on. This is why we need to take control of our states. Don't forget Kentucky called the Capitol switchboard about Mitch McConnell. Okay. So, Nate, we need to get rid of this speaker in Texas. How do people do it? Real quickly, I got like 30 seconds. Tell people how to get rid of this speaker in Texas. What do they need to do?
That's great. Well, there's two things that our speaker is doing that are absolutely messed up. Number one is he is delaying the clock by not getting work done. We have taken three back-to-back 5-day weekends, and we still have a former Obama White House employee, a lawyer, working as our parliamentarian. So I want you to email our speaker. I believe you have that email. Email Dustin Burrows and let him know to fire Hugh Brady so we can get a conservative as our parliamentarian and to get to work so we can pass our Texas GOP priorities and bring sanity back to Texas once again.
Yeah. All right, Army, you know what to do. Hit that, copy that email, take a picture of your screen, whatever you got to do. All right. So I got 2.5 minutes, gentlemen. I'll start with you, Ed. You got 30 seconds.
Yes, awesome. Thank you. We're winning. It feels really good. Like I said earlier in the show, keep the pressure on, keep praying. Pray for your president, pray for Congress, pray for your state Congress, men and women, as you just met Nate. By the way, you should go follow him. I did that during one of the little breaks right here and keep up with what's happening in Texas. You're doing a great job. Keep it up. Keep the prayer pressure on and smile. Smile. We're winning. And that feels really good.
Okay, Rick. Got a minute?
Yeah, totally agree. The right questions are being asked. Just think about it. All this sunlight that we're getting, the idea that we're challenging the presuppositions of whether or not an agency or a program should even exist in the first place. So everybody needs to remember, it's just like when, the children of Israel wanted a king and God's like, no, if you think you're going to get all these good things, but you're also going to get all these bad things as well, you really don't want, and they just kept pushing. We do that all the time with government. We think it's going to come solve this problem. Then it creates this behemoth that ends up being a bigger problem in the end. So if we'll just get it back down to the things that it should be, the proper constitutional jurisdictions, that's what we're working towards. Let's learn what the principles are that produce a good society, what the proper role of government is. We keep pushing for those things, and I believe in a very short period of time, we're going to turn this whole thing around and hand our kids a fantastic, strong again nation.
Amen. I agree with that too, Rick. All right, so listen, if you didn't go share this program on all your social media, go do it. Go do it. Now, look at all the stuff we talked about, and I got more. Stuff we could have got to. We need a few more hours on this program to get it done. So listen, you need to stay in touch. Let me pray real quick before we go off the air. Father, I thank you for my guest tonight, and I thank you for those watching all around the world. Father, I thank you for what you're doing in the lives of every person here in America. And thank you for revealing and exposing the corruption and how it needs. Now, empower those that need to step in to go do their job and take over these places of corruption and turn them into places of light. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, special thanks to Ed Rush, of course, Representative Nate Schatzline, Rick Green, and thank you to all 50 states, including Washington, D.C., and Aruba, Australia, Bahamas, Barbados, Belize, Canada, Honduras, Mexico, the Netherlands, Puerto Rico, the United Kingdom, the United States, and the U.S. Virgin Islands. Thank you for watching.